remember, if I didn't want to make that little journey to Iran, that was a journey. I said, we're going to have to do this for the good of the world.
So you still expect growth in the economy this year? No recession?
I mean, I do. Look, we had a couple of months where I had to go to a war. I had to go and fight either a military operation. Some people would call it a war. Some people call it a military operation. It was easy because we have the greatest military in the world. But I had to divert, because if I didn't do that, right now you would have Iran with a nuclear weapon. And if they had a nuclear weapon, you would be calling everybody over there, sir. And you don't want to do that.
Well, you keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business interviewing President Trump. That aired this morning. And President Trump continues to stick with that idea that this war is going to wrap up and soon. Let's get to our next guest. Excited to have Harris Faulkner back with us, author of #1 New York Times bestseller, Faith Still Moves Mountains. And you know her, of course, as the anchor and host of the Faulkner Focus and Outnumbered on Fox News. Harris, thank you for being with us today. It's always great to have you with us.
Annie, great to be with you. Thank you for inviting me on. Look, today is another huge news day. We don't have any right now that are not. I'm looking at the markets right now. What we've been watching is the price of gasoline, perhaps being touched by, at some point, these, oil barrel prices, which are in the 90s, low 90s we started today. I mean, the blockade is working. I had a colonel on this morning, and I said, have you ever seen anything like this? And this guy's seen a lot of time on the battlefield. He said never. He went all the way back to the Barbary Coast Wars. I'm like, what are you even doing? And he said, well, maybe the Civil War, we did some blockades that were big, but nothing ever like this. We are controlling them militarily without a single bullet fired. He said, Harris, this is peace through strength.
Yeah, and President Trump seems to have... First of all, I think he has a very good long-term plan, but he seems nimble within his plan. He's waiting to see what they do, and he doesn't seem to be making quick, rash decisions. He knows what the end goal is, and he's willing to do what he needs to do to get there.
You know what's interesting about what you're saying right now? He took a lot of criticism early on in this war. I say early on. It's now we're day 3 of a ceasefire, so the war is abated for a moment. But what critics are saying is, oh, you didn't know that they were going to have a lot of drones? No, we actually didn't. But it didn't turn out to be a problem in the long run. What, they shot down a plane and they've got an American behind enemy lines? No, actually they don't. Because we put 1,000 people down in enemy territory and everybody got off the ground and we got our guy out alive. Thank the good Lord. Got 2 of them, 1 on a mountain.
Yeah, that story is an incredible story, and watching it unfold over Easter weekend, no less, it really does restore for me a sense of newfound pride. I've always had pride in our military and our capabilities, but as a civilian, we're here in St. Louis. We're Boeing people here, so we have incredible air shows and lots of people in this area listening right now who are part of making some of the most incredible machines that the world has ever seen. But then all of a sudden, you get to, like, as a civilian, you get to see some of this stuff, and you're like, well, that's pretty incredible, and you feel a little more strengthened. And it does seem as though the world has kind of pivoted to President Trump and the United States and given us a level of respect that maybe didn't seem to be there as much during prior administrations.
Well, I hope some of them live in Europe.
Yeah.
Because those friendships and the dynamic nature of our relationship with Great Britain in particular is changing. And it's changing by the hour because we don't need them. They need us. And of course, we want to be part of other countries around the world and good partners. And I don't honestly think we're going to leave NATO based on the steps that are being taken now. I have to say, though, it was dicey for a little while there. And if we are going to choose and uphold peace as a nation, as the United States, we're going to need a little bit of respect from the guys who want to say things like, well, we don't know if we want you to use our airspace. Really? I mean, we have a special relationship and you don't want to be special? And then now you need all the oil that flows through the Strait of Hormuz. And if we don't commandeer that and push Iran back, you're not willing to go in there because really and truly you can't hold it by yourself. So a lot of that. But I do want to mention this one part about the blockade. So you want to know why Iran is willing to. Now, we haven't heard a peep out of them other than we want to talk.
Right.
You know why? $435 million a day is what it's costing Iran, this U.S. blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. We're not blocking everything. We're blocking everything that they do, all of their Iranian ports. And anybody else. And by the way, today we started blocking in the Gulf of Oman because Iran thought they could get cute. So no, you're not doing it there either. You're not going around. You're not going south. You're not doing anything. And we're going to search everything. And then during the Faulkner Focus, we found out that the Pakistani military chief has already arrived in Tehran. He's ready to work with mediators to seek that second round of talks between the U.S. and Iran. This is in motion now. This is moving on. So maybe or maybe not the president saw or didn't see what Iran was going to try to do with the Strait of Hormuz. It has not mattered. They wanted to do a blockade. We flipped the switch. Look, it's time for them to talk nuclear. It's time for them to talk uranium, and that's where they are at the table now. We finally got to the point why we really went to war. It wasn't even over all this. Hormuz became a thing because of Iran. But the uranium has always been our thing, and that's what we're watching next. And J.D. Vance, our vice president, has said, the president said, no deal unless those guys can promise us no nukes.
Harris Faulkner speaking with us, anchor and host of the Faulkner Focus and Outnumbered on Fox News. I think it was on the Faulkner Focus this morning. You'll be able to tell me. You were speaking with one of your guests was talking about, like, what's the breakdown here between when you look at Britain or maybe some of these European countries, and they said there's a huge difference between what those in the military. There's a lot of compliments thrown towards our allies in Europe and the military and the strength that they have. The difference between military capability and will and politicians, and we certainly know that here in the United States as well.
Yes, that was Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb.
Yeah, thank you.
I asked him because I know he's been on the ground, you know, in concert in different wars with troops from NATO. And I said, so what are those relationships like? And he said, they respect our military more so now than ever before. He said, this has nothing to do with who I serve side by side with. He said the politicians in these European countries, particularly Italy even, I was surprised with Meloni even this week, they aren't quite sure who to listen to on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, they've got their own political ambitions. Do they really want to be with the United States? Well, we're winning, so I don't know how hard of a decision that is. But we're also holding Iran's feet to the fire on something that we have seen now. They will unleash hate and bullets and drones and missiles at anybody they can reach. And over time, with a nuke, they're going to be able to reach everybody.
Yeah.
So don't you want to deal with that now that their economy is completely broken going into the war? And whatever else was left, we have decimated them by cutting off their oil exports. They can't sell anything because they can't get it out of there. So what he was saying, Lieutenant Colonel Dobb, was like, we're good with the military. If we have to go do something and their politicians change and become, you know, on board, they're ready to go fight side by side. They respect us. They know what we can do, and they know that our hearts are in it and that this is our mission together because we are NATO partners.
Yeah.
I don't know if the politicians will change, but if their economies change because of what's happening in the energy space after this, because it's going to change. We just put in online one of the biggest pipelines on the planet. It's coming to the East Coast. They're going to take continuing infrastructure and build it up, just like they did 3 Mile Island a few months ago with nuclear. They're building it up.
All of these different things that this president has done. I know people call it 4D chess and everything, but he's got so many irons in the fire right now, but they are all connected. And you're a mother and I'm a mother. And I just think about generationally, Harris, I was a senior in high school on September 11th, 2001. My classmates signed up for the military after the towers were hit. And that war seems like it, to some extent, an Iran-funded terrorist world is
100%.
now being ended so that our children and maybe our grandchildren don't have to fight the same war that has been happening since then. The president took great risk with good policy risk to the politics of it for the time being. I'm just looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out in the end, of course.
You bring up an excellent point. You know who we haven't heard from recently?
Who's that?
The Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas. I'm not saying that they're not like scorpions in some nest trying to come back, make a comeback, but Iran can't flow that money to them to get them to do anything right now because part of this deal is Hezbollah and Lebanon. And even Israel said, we've done what we need to do. We can sit down now. And so all those missiles that were coming from Hezbollah have stopped because the Lebanese government finally did what no one else could incentivize them to do. Put your terrorists down. You own that army. Make them stop. And the money that's flowing to you from Iran ain't going to flow anymore right now because they can't sell their oil. So if you're not getting paid to kill the Israelis, maybe you could sit down. I'm telling you, this has worked. It's always messy. And from the critics from the beginning, they were rooting against their own country here.
Yes.
Many of them. That didn't stop Trump. Trump doesn't care.
He doesn't
He's the
care.
honey badger of politics.
That's so true. And so how blessed we are to have him in this moment in time, to have the will to do the right thing, even though it's the hard thing. Yes. Harris Faulkner, you're always a treasure to have on the show. Thank you for being with us again today.
Thank you. God bless you. Anytime. Take care, Annie.
God bless you as well. Bye-bye.